our next guest, Brian Boyle, former Leaf, NHL forward, NHL Network analyst. What's up, buddy? How we doing?
What's happening? How we doing?
Good, man. Okay, so the segue here is seats, because I saw you tweeted a segment about how upset you get at people who stand up at the back of the plane and rush to the front, which, of course, right? Like, those people are villains. Those are the scourge of society. There's no question about it. But when has your big ass never flown first class? Like, what are you talking about? Like, how is this an issue for you? Are you just mad because the people, they push past the curtain? Like, how long has it been?
Look at my stats, man. I'm a grinder.
Yeah, you're sitting coach. You're 6'7". You're sitting coach. I don't believe you.
Listen, when you have 5 kids and you're trying to book a flight and your wife wants to come on the trip,
yeah,
for the little kids hockey tournament, and then she can't come on the trip, and she's dragging her feet a little bit. Not to drag my wife, but
oh yeah, it's too late.
Book the plane ticket 6 days in advance. The prices go up a little bit. Plus, you got to keep the kids humble. So we were in the 19th row.
Oh.
And somebody in 25, some moron, decides it was like there's no connecting flights. We landed at 10 p.m. We're not in a rush to get anywhere.
No, that's.
If that was the case, like, fine, go ahead. Like, everyone should get out of that person's way. Like, let's be courteous. We've all been there. We got to connect, all that. No, it's like I'm getting off first, and you're the worst person that's ever lived. Probably.
Yes, I completely agree. Listen, I completely agree. The thing is, though, I kind of blame you a little for this. Can I just say why?
Yeah.
One is I actually just pictured that, because you sound like you're in the car right now. I pictured like your wife beside you as you were doing this, like dragging her and be like, this thing is about my wife. She's just sitting there quietly with her arms folded. But when there's a guy, if I see Brian Boyle on the plane, I'm like, hey, listen, you're the enforcer of the common decency of this vessel, brother. Like, you have to be out there and giving people the stare downs and the hand up. And if push comes to shove, you got to be the person who says, you got to be the person who says, like, you in a rush or something, or like back to the back of the plane, because this person's going to listen to you. You're basically you're the authority on the plane. Unless there's an undercover agent, it's you. And so kind of falls on you. This was under your authority.
Listen, my goal in life now has changed a little bit. For a long time, I wanted to win a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
Now that I'm on TV a little bit, and my goal is to not go viral for the wrong reasons.
True. But that would be the great reason.
Stuff.
No, that would be a great reason.
Yeah,
if you went viral.
I also. Yeah, but I go crazy sometimes. I have a little temper.
Yeah, okay.
And if I let the tiger out of the cage, I got a 6-year-old and 8-year-old that are looking at me.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, it's a tough
one. I just said, like, no, we'll wait. Like, go ahead, we'll wait.
Yeah.
And that's kind of all I said. And not even a look back. This person was so in their own world. It's the same person that goes shopping at the grocery store, just leaves the cart wherever in the parking lot.
Yeah.
Like, you're the worst.
Dude, I think about this all the time, how self-involved people are becoming. And I don't want to blame everything always on phones because I just sound like the oldest person in the universe. But, like, I swear to God, the common decency and the self-involvement of people now in terms of never empathizing or thinking of others, like, it's wild to me. Like, yeah, just little things, just holding a door for somebody in public, letting somebody sit down if you're on a train who's out, like, it's diminishing, man. I swear to God, it's diminishing, and it makes me a little scared about the future. But the plane one is awful, because if you're on a plane, and especially if you're in coach, like a commoner like you gotta.
I'm a peasant.
Yeah, I know, like 6'7" too, dude. If I saw you sit down next to me on a plane, I would be so mad. I'm already like, okay, damn it, I'm in coach, and then here comes this 6'7", wide as a house guy sitting down. I would just be livid with you. The only thing worse is wearing a ton of perfume or having BO on a plane, other than sitting next to a massive human being. But man, on a plane, when you're just trying to get through the day, don't add to my stresses. A person doing that, I'm like, who are you? You're right. When you said that they're the world's worst person, it's like, for you not to even have just like a little bit of decency, right? Awful. Okay, so hockey stuff. Leafs are on a 7-game heater. Let's start with this. Do you remember the longest winning streak of your career?
idea.
No idea? I don't remember either. I didn't have it prepared.
No
I actually
clue.
have another thing from your career prepared, but yeah, you didn't have a long winning streak where you ever had, where you're like, man, we're really humming right now. This is really going.
No, I probably did, but I just have no idea how
Dude.
long. I was on some good Tampa teams,
Yeah.
good New York teams. You know, I have no idea how many wins.
Okay, not maybe the how many, because I was going to say this is crushing because the big premise of this is that, hey, maybe the Leafs have turned a corner by doing this and what this can do for their confidence moving into the playoffs. And you're like, I don't even remember how long we had. I'm like, oh, my God. Yeah, you did have a long career, though, so let's just say. But, okay, being on a winning streak, though, is there maybe a moment from one of them, from some of those good teams that you remember like, hey, damn it, this is – guys start to get superstitious, guys start to get weird in the room about messing with stuff?
Yeah, you know, in Tampa, Stammer would do things like that a little bit because we had some home winning streaks. We always had chances to like break a home record or whatever it was. I remember in Jersey, I didn't start the year playing because I was sick, but we started the year 9-1, and everyone picked us as a lottery team, and there was nothing said about it. We just kept playing. There was a lot of guys on that roster that had a lot to prove.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, we ended up making the playoffs that year, and a lot of it had to do with that start. Now, when I got traded to Nashville, a couple years after I played in Toronto, I got traded out of Nashville my second year in Jersey.
Mm-hmm.
They started the year like a house on fire. We ended up winning the Central, but we were like, I remember just conversations in the room being like, if we didn't have that start, we'd be fighting for the playoffs. We're not playing well enough. So in that sense, it can get to you. When I look at the Leafs, I look at like who have they beat, right? They beat Colorado and they beat Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, you want points and you want to keep winning, and there's these winning streaks, especially this year. I feel like it's been crazy, the streaks for and against. Like teams have dropped 8 in a row, and obviously Edmonton won 16 in a row. But I would look at who did we beat if I'm in that Leafs room. Like that's the confidence, that's the swagger, that's the what are we doing right now? How do we bottle this up? Because we beat teams that have high expectations like we do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, those 2 wins were massive. They got another one tonight against Vegas. And, yeah, Vegas is beat up. They're missing a bunch of key guys. But to me, it's like we've done a couple things. One is the Leafs have been historically kind of underwhelming against some lesser opponents at times. It's felt like they lower their play to their competition and that they can elevate it throughout the regular season. Like they're really a roller coaster ride historically. They haven't had a 7-game winning streak like this in 20 years. So it also carries the added meaning because, you know, that always everything gets tied into the historical stuff with the Leafs. You can't escape it, which probably is a little bit more difficult as a player. But yeah, the bottling thing is the question for them, right? Because they had this super emotional event with Morgan Rielly cross-checking Riley Gregg in the face. That results in a 5-game suspension. And the word around the room was, hey, they're going to use this as a potentially galvanizing moment for the team. Everybody calls them soft, and yet they're this team that continues to accrue suspensions. And all of a sudden, the guy who's up for the Lady Bang is getting slapped with a 5-game suspension. They feel like the world is against them. They appeal. They don't get anything from it. The rest is history. But do you buy that? Like, do you buy that this actually can change the attitude of a team? And if it does, is it something that you can sustain or does it run out?
Well, it has to sort of be reinforced here and there. So the suspension stinks, and that was not, you know, but that's Morgan Rielly just being fed up. And that's a guy who carries a lot of respect in the room that's fed up with how that game went. Okay, it's not just the slap shot in the empty net, right? That's not the only reason. It was like, what are we doing here? We're better than this. And I think when people say that galvanizes the group, it's not just the one event. It was like, holy smokes, look what Mo just did. Let's get it together here. Let's bring a little more emotion and passion. And that's what separates most teams, unless you can't get saves or whatever. Like, the teams that are good, who can bring that emotion the most often? And I don't think there's a limit to how often you can do that. If you condition yourself and your team to do that every night, you understand what it takes. Like, that's part of it. It's not talent. They don't need more talent. They have guys that are playing better now. Yeah, that's good. That's a belief. Like Max Domi and Bertuzzi, these guys, they have to play with that passion. These guys can be real, like, real problems for other teams because of an element that they can bring in their game. And when they do that and they're emotionally invested, like they feel a part of it, like what Bertuzzi didn't feel for most of the year, now he feels like he's a part of it. Look at his game. Mm-hmm. And that goes right down the line, the whole lineup. That is what every team tries to get consistently and what you absolutely need if you want to have success, especially in the postseason. If you do it all year long, when the postseason comes, you don't spike it up at a crazy rate where you can let things get away from you and get out of hand. You know how to handle those situations. And then you're calm and cool under certain pressures. You start every game on time. Mm-hmm. That part of it is what I think is going to really help the team, and that's why I think that what Morgan Rielly did ultimately is going to help the team.
Yeah, honestly, you're in such a tough spot when you're in the city here, because if you say you believe that there's something that's going to impact their overall success, people just immediately start making the parade jokes. No, I don't think that they're going to win the Stanley Cup because of this, but I do think that there is some meaning to be gleaned from this streak, especially for this group, and it's the things that you outlined that they ended up falling into. Like, yes, it's great that they circled the wagons around Rielly. Yes, it's great that they felt as though they needed some more emotion in their game, but that is translated in the streak to them falling into figuring out, yeah, Domi and Bertuzzi need bigger roles, and that they found this line together where there's real chemistry. And, yeah, the stuff that you're talking about, that they really seem to have tapped into more guys on the team feeling like they're involved, and that it's not just, hey, the 4 forwards and the rest of the team is just mercenary plug-and-play pieces that can end up between 9 and 13 minutes basically every single night. And it has been the starts and the finishes and the attention to detail. And I do feel like at least you have this sample for the team. I'm sure that they'll lull again, right? It's a long season. I don't expect them to tear off the rest of the way. But when they do get to the postseason, they at least now have a little bit more of a proof of concept of how they can dominate.
Yeah, absolutely. And, I've been traded to teams where I felt a part of it right away. I've been traded where I didn't necessarily feel like I was part of it right away. It's a hard thing to do. Feel like you're on an island out there sometimes, and when your roles change a little bit, or if you feel like the coach might not necessarily have as much trust in you, you need to kind of park it, and you need to understand, especially come playoff time, like they're going to play top guys as much as they can and keep them effective. Now, you need to figure out a way to say we're all in it together. That's going to be our best chance. Maybe it's not so much of a discrepancy between the top 4 forwards, or whatever you want to call it, top 3 forwards anyway, and the rest of the group. But there'll be situations where that happens in a game. You have to do that. If you're coaching that team, you have to do that. You got to play your best players. But if you're getting more from these guys, I mean, that's part of the job as a coach, I guess, trying to make them feel like they are needed. You also, as a player, need to prove that you can be. And I think they've done that better. It doesn't happen right away. There's new guys that come in, and sometimes right at training camp it works. Other times it takes a certain amount of games. They're good enough to keep themselves in the mix, just talent alone. But I like the emotional part of it. That's something that I always was wondering about this group. They're starting to show it, which is really positive.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you were around some of these guys, and granted when they were much younger, but it really does feel like Morgan Rielly, out of all of them, has been able to tap into that emotional side of the game that has wavered, I would say, at times with other stars on the team. Do you feel like that's a fair assessment of him anyways?
Yes, and he's calm under pressure. He can handle things. He was mature when I played there years ago. And so if he gets rattled, you know it's genuine. And you kind of have to look at yourself. You're like, what can I do to help fix this? Because that's not Morgan Rielly's personality. So he's understood and he's listened to. Like, these guys, he's a leader on that team, and he has been forever. And, I mean, look, the young guys, when they were there, like Matthews and Marner and Nylander, these guys were, how they talked in the media or what they were like in the room, they're so committed to their craft. It's crazy. I don't think they get enough credit for that. I don't want Austin Matthews taking a 5-game suspension for cross-checking someone in the face. I don't want Morgan Rielly doing that either. But something had to be done there, and Morgan knew it. And then, like, these guys are falling in line. Like, they're so committed to what they do. They've been around long enough together that I'm interested to see where it goes. Especially after March 8th, see what they do. But if I'm Treliving, I don't know what to do now because these guys are coming. It looks like a pretty deep team to me now.
Yeah. No, that's actually the interesting thing moving forward here is if you are adding somebody, you're taking away from somebody else within the group that is having success. The only place is they could really use a right shot D that could play next to Morgan Rielly and absorb some minutes. Like that one's just no one's going to cry if William Lagesson comes out of the lineup, right? He was I think the team's 9th defenseman coming into the season, and good year for him. Got some NHL games, but that's the clear point of upgrade. But for the other guys, yeah, it does have to be a bit of a strange time as a player where you're on a team like this and you're hoping to add. You're hoping that, they bolster the group and that maybe it's the way that the front office feels about you go on down the line. But also, you almost got to keep it quiet, your enthusiasm for this, because in that dressing room who exactly it could be that gets bumped.
Well, yeah, but you as a team, like, where are we most vulnerable to? Mm-hmm. Like, that could be an approach. That's usually an approach. Like, where are we most vulnerable if an injury happens? Mm-hmm. Like, if one guy goes down, a winger goes down, all right, depends on which winger, but you can I think you have enough talent there where you don't have to go out and spend future assets. And, hopefully they don't take away from the group. That's always a tough one, but as a player, if you add some depth, just kind of know, like, all right, this isn't for right now maybe, but it's for, like, middle of May. Mm-hmm. That's what they think of us. This is what we got to prove them right now. But if you can't control it, that's part of the toughness part of it mentally. If you can't control it, the only thing you can do is continue to go out, get yourself emotionally invested, and play well. Mm-hmm. They won't take you out if you do that. If they do, they'll put you right back in. It happened to me sort of later in my career. Mike Sullivan had this idea of a lineup that he thought he was going to start game 1 with. So in game 81, I was out of the lineup. Mm-hmm. Didn't go great. Game 82, I was back in, and I played all the playoff games. And in my head, I'm like, well, he's going to take me out today. I can't change his mind. But I know he's going to play me in the playoffs. And I told him that. I go, I know you're going to play me game 1, so do whatever you have to do. He kind of smirks at me and skates away, but that's the mentality you have to have as an athlete.
I like that, but also you had a full career under your belt, so you did know it, Right. I would imagine that that's a lot harder for other guys. This is you mentioned it a little bit earlier about how, come playoff time that the Stars are going to play, right? And we always talk about getting in a groove and getting in the right space as a player, and we've touched on it a little bit with the buy-in and some guys feeling better, the Bertuzzis and the Domies, right? But those are supposed to be guys on this team that were playing 15 minutes a night. Those were supposed to be guys that have a role, didn't have it consistently, are finding themselves. But do you think that we underestimate at times or underappreciate how hard it is for role players who have their minutes moved around or their responsibilities moved around in more significant ways? Because I think the idea we have as observers is, well, your role is kind of supposed to be simplified, and so just do the simple things and don't make big mistakes and you're all right. Is that an oversimplification to you? Like, how do you feel about that when it comes to the depth guys trying to find a groove and trying to find their ice and their role with consistency?
Well, so my approach as a bottom 6 guy, especially in playoffs, was unless we had a matchup, we're a home team, right? We have the matchup against one of the top 2 lines. That was a great opportunity. You get excited about that. And if nothing happens, if it's boring, if it's low event, we did a great job. If we don't have that role, say we go on the road and we're playing whoever, like another third line. Well, I remember in Toronto, I talked to Cappy and Matt Martin about it. I go, this is the third D pair that they have, and we will dominate them. This is our chance. The top lines they're going to try and shut them down. Here's our chance to make the difference that this series is going to turn. We're going to win this series because our line's going to be better. And it worked in a couple of games, and it obviously it didn't in a couple others. But, we won a game in double overtime. Our line was on the ice. We had 2 goals that game. That was our opportunity to play against the bottom pair and the bottom lines. Let's be better depth line. We played 9 minutes, but it was a great 9 minutes, and it ended up being a difference in the game. You can't look at it, a stat sheet after the game and huff and puff about how many minutes you got. You get shifts in the playoffs. It's the greatest thing ever. So however many you get, be ready for it. Prepare yourself to play 20 minutes. Mentally stay sharp if you're playing 9. That's the way I approached it all the time. That's what these guys should do. And play in straight lines. If you're not out there for 10 minutes of game time, you're not going to go and try and carry it through the neutral zone in 3 guys. Put it in, lay the wood down, beat some guys up. 7-game series. That was the approach. And if you're a skill guy, you still got to play hard.
What's it like for a player when you're in the rumor mill around this time of year? Like where you're, because you've been there before.
It sucks.
Sucks?
Yeah. Yeah, it's you want it to happen. Just want it to be done if you know it's going to happen. So in Tampa we were pushing for the last playoff spot with all our injuries.
Mm-hmm.
That was a hard time because it was like San Jose, Edmonton, Nashville, Toronto, all these teams, and my agent's calling me every day, and I'm like, what am I supposed to do? I have no control over this. My wife is pregnant. He said I can use that. And so you can you feel like you have no control. You might have a little bit, but you really are just at the mercy of whatever the deal is. And it's like at any moment it could all happen. And you're just hoping for the right place and try to convince yourself, well, it's going to be a playoff team, so that's exciting.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not easy. It's not easy. It's kind of overwhelming with I got to move, I got to pack, I got to make sure the family's taken care of. It's not easy.
Well, that one was especially weird though for you, the Leafs Lightning one, because like you said, you're in a spot where you just mentioned the family stuff, but where your team still had belief, and then you're moving to a division rival to go and try and win. So there's that added kind of thing. I would imagine that it's a little bit easier when you're completely out of it and your team is terrible and you're like, man, this whole season has been a slog. We suck. We never win. Now I feel a little reinvigorated because I'm going to a new spot. But is it at least like, okay, are you like an outlaw? You know how they had the wanted posters and you want to have like $10,000 for Josie Wales. It's like, at least you went for a second round pick. Like you get traded and you go, oh, I only went for a 4th? It's like, that's got to be deflating.
Yeah, I went for second rounders both times.
That's what I mean. It's like, that's got nice, man. That's pretty good.
What you said, well, yeah, but look, I mean, part of that's my salary too. Mm-hmm. People forget that, like, how did this guy
you're a Debbie Downer, eh? You sort of look at the negative right away. You're like, oh, it's only because I'm cheap. That's it. Like, that's kicking your foot in the dust, head down. Anyways, 2 seconds. It's pretty good.
Hey, listen, flying coach. Stay humble, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So, I mean, that was the case. Though, that was the case in Nashville. That was it. Like we were awful in Jersey the second year, and I wasn't. I mean, I played a lot of power play. I played a lot of penalty kill. I didn't play 5-on-5. Mm-hmm. 6-on-5, 5-on-6. I was on the ice. I'm like, I want to play in the game that's happening right now a little bit, not just at the end. And so that one, I was kind of like, my agent was like, Nashville wants you, and I was a little more excited about that because then I started. It was like it took a week. Started paying attention. I knew a couple guys on Nashville. Mm-hmm. That was a little bit easier because I knew we were done. And that's just kind of. That was, I guess, it's a great way to put it. Those are my two different stories, and that's how different it can be. It's different for every guy, but it is still hard to show up and get emotionally invested when you know at any moment you're out the door.
Yeah, you know what though? That would be a really fascinating thing to get to ask GMs, and maybe something I'll file away, which is that part of it is trying to figure out, hey, the guy that you're trying to go out and get, they might be a really good fit hockey-wise, but if mentally it's going to be difficult for them because, young family or pregnant wife or would rather be somewhere else. Like we always hear it when a guy he doesn't want to play in a Canadian market. Like those ones are easy where you go, okay, well, this guy doesn't want to be here. They're probably not going to trade for him. But yeah, the state of the mentals in terms of what they've got going on and how deep a team tries to dive into that element before they end up pulling the trigger, especially when it's real assets. So, by the way, our crack staff figured you won 9 in a row in 15-16. So congrats to you. 9-game win is pretty good. Leafs trying to match that. Before you go, I got to ask you about Matt Rempe. Kind of looks like you. Flow, tall, Rangers. You had 3 scraps in your first year with the Rangers, 10 total in your first 2 years as a pro. You also fought Zenon Konopka, which is, oh man, that's a nasty scrapper. He's like, it's, there's usually rules where you see someone with cauliflower ears, you're like, don't fight that guy. And I've met Zenon a few times, and if I saw his nose, I'd be like, yeah, I'm obviously not going to fight you. Like, it's pretty clear that we're not doing this. You did, so good for you. Is it kind of like real life where sometimes the shorter, tough guy wants to just take a run at the bigger, taller player? He seems totally engaged in this, but now when you're a young guy and you're in the league, you're trying to make a name for yourself, it feels like you're a literally huge walking target now for everybody that also wants to make a name off of you in a fight.
Yeah, and if you're inexperienced, some of the, like a Zenon Konopka, who can tie you up in a weird way when he gets a little bit of a jump on you.
Yeah.
He knows he's not going to get an instigator because he's fighting a big tree.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you show up. And I think he fought in preseason, comes out and fights in an outdoor setting in his first career game.
Right away.
And now everybody wants a piece of him.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I hope if he can skate, when he gets going, he can move. If he goes and runs a few guys, has to fight because of that, okay.
Mm-hmm.
He could change a game for the Rangers because he's just so massive and he can move. And I hope he doesn't think, like, I have to fight every single night for a while. But I also don't think he's going to say no to anybody because he's gotten the tap from some guys. He's tapped a few guys, asked them to go, and they've obliged. It's made a name for him. I don't know if he thinks he owes it and pays it forward to these other guys go. But it's quite the story because we're talking about it on this channel now, and we're talking about it on the NHL Network, and everybody's talking about it. And he plays for the Rangers.
Yeah,
it's interesting to see. I want to see the kid become, a really effective player. He's just imposing, but look back at Chara when he started. He fought. He wasn't scared of anybody. He fought a lot. The league was a lot different.
Oh, we're aware.
But then he got better and better, and then Chara was very, very scary. This kid has the potential to do that. But it's a throwback, and we're talking about it because this doesn't happen anymore.
Uh-huh.
Like, that fight with Delorier was unbelievable.
It was so good.
It was just such a throwback. So, Ryan Reeves going to go home? That'll be interesting to watch.
Has to. Like,
yeah,
you have to
try.
Dude, so one, us in Toronto, we know about the Chara thing because he helicoptered Brian McCabe in what was one of the more humbling moments for Leaf fans right in the midst of the Battle of Ontario. Like this picture of Brian McCabe off his skates looking terrified as Chara swung him around like he was a child. Yeah. Everybody has unbelievable Chara stories from playing with him in terms of just like the physical fitness that he had. But yeah, have you ever been to indoor lacrosse?
Yeah, the box lacrosse?
Yeah. So when you go to those games and they don't fight, you're like, this is the worst day of my life. I expected throwdowns. And when you see it, too, it's like they're not on skates. They're just in sneakers. Right? They're pummeling each other. But still, it's awesome. It's so fun to watch. If I went to a Rangers game right now and Rempe didn't fight, I would be like, is there a refund booth that I can go to? I'd be so distraught. So I'm sorry that he's in this spot, but it's one of the hottest things in hockey right now. So I'm sorry, but he's got to keep doing it Saturday against Reeves. Like, it's got to go down. If Reeves is in the lineup, they got to fight.
I know. He's so wide open when he does it, though.
I know. He's
taking
me
a little bit, but he just,
shots.
It's, we got to just kind of tweak that and then watch out. Because, I mean, he picked up the puck behind his goal, behind his goal line last week. Took it 190 feet, softly laid in the corner, and then him and Edstrom, who's 6'7", both ran the same guy. Looked like slap shot. I'm like, this is awesome. I would not want to play against this line right now. They can move. They're big. I just don't want them to fight so wide open because, man, he's taking some right to the face.
Yeah. I wonder if the last fight there against Columbus was an eye-opener for him, where he's like, oh, yeah, okay. Like, maybe
it's the only way you can learn, though.
Yeah. Maybe I got to make some.
Chara beat my face in.
Yeah. Maybe make some adjustments. Hey, Brian, always a pleasure getting to catch up with you. Sorry about Coach, and I mean that for the people beside you, too. Thanks for making time, brother.
Thanks, JD. Appreciate it, man.
See you, buddy. Brian Boyle, former NHL forward. Yeah. Tall guy who sits in Coach. Nightmare.